Content warning. The content of this podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered medical or psychological advice. The views expressed are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any professional organizations. If you or someone you know is experiencing mental health issues or a crisis, please seek help from a qualified mental health professional or contact a crisis support service by dialing 988. Always consult with the licensed therapist or counselor for personalized support and guidance. Welcome to Queer in Here, Let's Talk Mental Health, and I'm Alicia Nolan. My pronouns are she, her, 3-time Amazon bestselling author and owner of Choose to Live. This podcast is dedicated to LGBTQ+ mental wellness. A diverse selection of mental health professionals and passionate storytellers will come together to create a safe and supportive space for everyone. Each episode features insightful conversations that explore the unique challenges faced by the LGBTQ+ community, weaving in personal narratives that resonate deeply with experiences of identity, acceptance, and resilience. This podcast will not only provide valuable tools for coping and healing, but it will also foster a sense of belonging, reminding followers that they are not alone in their journeys, and intends to inspire hope, spark dialogue, and promote mental wellness for everyone. Hello, Megan and Maddy. Thank you for joining us today. Please kick this off by introducing yourselves, and we'll just go ahead and we'll start with Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan Meyer, she, her, and I'm a licensed massage therapist.
Fantastic. And Maddy?
Hi, I'm Maddy. Pronouns are they, them, and I am also a licensed massage therapist.
Fantastic. And you both work at Sage Wellness in Colorado Springs. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got that started and what the whole vibe is with Sage Wellness?
Sure. Ooh. Do you want to take it? Do you want to?
I think you're good.
Okay,
You're the
okay.
pitch man.
Please don't fight over the microphone. No, I'm just kidding.
How it got started was we worked together at a previous location and got along and kind of had the same morals, values for what we wanted in a massage place, a private practice, which was a place where we wanted to create a safe space for the queer community. That was the big thing, especially right when the political climate really changed and Trump got elected. Most of the queer people that we knew, including myself and including Megan, were terrified, absolutely terrified. So that kind of motivated us to start a place. We wanted to be kind of loud and proud about being queer owned and also being trauma informed therapists. I think that was really what motivated us to get started. And after that, things just started rolling. We just started moving as quickly as we could. And we were able to open a place, rather quickly, quicker than we expected. Yeah.
Well, that's always good. When did you open? When did Sage Wellness become Sage
We've
Wellness?
only been open since April. Yeah. So
of this year.
Yeah.
Yes.
April 1st.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So y'all are
Super new.
Brand new.
super new. You said during the political climate. So was it like before or after Trump got elected that y'all really came together to create this?
We had been talking about opening up a place before the election started. We had been dreaming together, talking in between sessions with our clients, going out to eat together and, had been dreaming about it for a while. And then after the election is when things, we felt kind of like a fire under our heels almost to really get moving and get things open as quickly as possible.
I love that it didn't frighten you. There's a lot of people that backed off from putting themselves out there. Even with this podcast, it's like I started it a month before he was elected. And afterwards, I was questioning whether or not it was still a good idea. And then I was like, well, fuck yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Sure.
I know. It pissed me off.
Yeah, we were angry.
Yeah. Yes.
It's like, okay, so, like the queer, particularly the trans community, has a hard time finding safe spaces and people who are going to approach them with the kind of care that they deserve and know what to do in that situation. And, after the election, it was like, even my partner was like, are you sure you really want to put that on your branding and like be out there with it? And it was like, Yeah, now more than ever.
Yeah.
Now more than ever.
Yeah. And I think we also we respect however people choose to handle what's going on. For a lot of people, it means kind of hiding and freezing. And if everybody's space and what they do is totally fine, we just, we felt like we had no choice but to move forward. We felt like we had no choice but to create a space, and we felt like we were the perfect people for it.
Yeah. Thank you for being a safe space for the queer community. Because, I mean, now more than ever, it's like all I want to do is go to queer or inclusive places that have the word inclusive anywhere on their website. I'm all about it. I'm like, okay, these are the only places I'm going to. If you don't have that word on there, I don't know. It's kind of scary. So thank you for being that safe space for people. So let's get into a little bit about what your focus is. Can you start by explaining what trauma-informed bodywork is and how it differs from traditional bodywork or massage therapy?
It's so trauma-informed bodywork is essentially where it's more than just the work that we're doing on the table. It's the work we're doing when they're off the table, when they're, having a safe space for clients to come to us as they are with whatever shit that they have going on, and know that we're not going to judge them whatsoever. And we're just here to be a support system as much as possible. And we're also, trained in helping clients if they do have trauma come up on the table, if they have a major emotional release, or if they have, a panic attack on the table. We want to be there to support them through that and know that it's okay, it's fine. I think that's been the biggest focus. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the biggest lesson, because I've done a lot of trauma-informed massage therapy courses. I also work at UCCS in their trauma healing department or trauma research department as a massage therapist. So I've had to go through more clinical trauma training too. But I think the biggest message when you're a massage therapist learning about trauma-informed work is you yourself also have to be regulated. You yourself have to be a safe space, your own body, in order to channel that energy for other people too. Because if I'm not in a regulated space, it's really hard for me to hold space for anybody else, even in a conversation, let alone with body work and if trauma comes up and things like that. So it was learning about different signs of trauma, different ways to heal from trauma, and just being able to have more informed conversations about, and being vulnerable, with my own experience of trauma healing and somatic work, somatic healing, somatic illness, and just knowing how to talk to clients about that and just kind of hold space for whatever they're going through.
Are those points are those CEUs in addition to your massage license, or is this personal research that, okay, so there's additional courses that you can take on top of your massage license therapy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I don't know. I mean, we didn't go to the same massage school, but it wasn't a big focal point in school at all. And we were kind of told, I was kind of told, there might be emotional releases and you just have to be cautious of that. And it's what do you mean cautious? And what do I do? What does it mean? How do I help people in that way too? Where it's you kind of come out of massage school and you're I was God, I hope it doesn't happen to me. I hope it never happens on my table. And now I'm almost not encouraging it, but really I feel very prepared when things like that come up.
Yes. Yeah. I was going to say every time I've gone to a massage therapist because of personal trauma, I didn't like to be touched for years, so going to a massage therapist was a weird thing. And it had to be a woman because, reasons, but, but yeah, going and you fill out the questionnaire and all the questions are where do you hurt? Where are your what muscles are bothering you, or where do you feel tense? And that's it. Yeah. Yeah, there's a reason why I'm a ball of tension when I go to any kind of massage for so many reasons. But yeah, they don't really ask questions about anything in regards to trauma or things that may come up and stuff. So,
well, and that's a big, I feel like that's a big, fault in the massage therapy community is a lot of people, they don't recognize that trauma comes through the body. The body is the battleground. And when people have tension, sometimes it has nothing to do with with posture, how you sleep. Sometimes it's an emotional issue that's being brought to the surface. And whenever it gets worked over, that's why, people start to have a whole lot of emotions come up, start to cry, start to get angry. Sometimes it's not just muscle tension. There could be deeper stuff that's going on.
And I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because that's even something that I've just started to learn about myself over the last few years that people don't understand. Like your tension isn't just due to, posture or, sitting at a desk all day. Sometimes it is very trauma based or emotional. That's been an interesting thing over the last couple of years that I've had to learn personally. It's like listening to my body. Yeah, which I talk about a lot on the show, is like listening to your body. And I'm 39 now. I was 36 when I started learning about these things. A ball of tension walking around for decades. And now I'm finally starting to get the connection there with your mental health and the tension that you hold in your body and the way that trauma can surface. So thank you for bringing that up, because when you talk about massage therapy, that's not where people's brains go typically.
Never. Never. Yeah.
And that's why I appreciate so much of what you do, because I feel like people listening will find a sense of comfort in knowing, okay, I haven't done massage therapy in years before this reason. And I feel like you've kind of opened that door of safety for individuals to consider massage therapy, or this type of massage therapy, specifically what you're doing, or at least seeking out massage therapists that are trauma informed in case those situations happen.
Yeah.
So
another thing that, like, my own trauma journey is what kind of brought me to craniosacral therapy, which is a really light touch therapy. You can be fully clothed for the whole experience. And, it was like I was going through my own trauma healing, kind of getting back into doing body work. And I was simply seeking a therapy where it was going to be a little bit easier on my body, where I wasn't going to have to exert so much force into people. And then I went to like a continuing education class, and the teacher put her hands around, was just holding my head, and I felt the most regulated that I had felt in years. I was like recovering. That's why we were talking a little bit before we got on about the episode with Dara that you just released. I mean, my message is, if anyone listening hasn't listened to that episode with Dara Hoffman, they absolutely should.
Yeah.
But it was more in line with just recovering from burnout, like hitting a wall with your body and your mind, where it's like your body tells you have to stop and you have to heal. Right. Like, you cannot just push through this. And that's kind of what led me back into body work. And when I was learning craniosacral therapy, it was the most regulated I had felt in a long time. And I thought, wow, the implications of this for trauma, just to hold a space for someone to where they can feel that regulation, even if it's only for 5 minutes, is so powerful, because that's what resilience is. When you can, when your nervous system can actually feel safe, even if it's only for 5 minutes, that's 5 minutes you couldn't do 10 minutes ago,
Yeah.
And then you just build on that and your body remembers. I'm telling clients that all the time, where it's like, if you can access this safe space outside of this room, then you're building resilience. And that is the antithesis of trauma.
Yeah. I love all of that, because people don't really think about or learn until much later.
No.
The definition of resiliency is bouncing back from things. That's not necessarily, there's so much more to it than that, especially when it comes to your mental and emotional well-being.
Absolutely. Learning that regulation, it's almost kind of like a muscle that you have to build over time to learn how to be able to regulate yourself. And it really can start for a lot of people on the massage table. And they're like, and the body remembers that. And then when you leave, like Megan said, it builds that resilience, and you start to learn how to kind of create that space again once you leave the table, And I mean, it's just,
yeah,
beautiful work.
So when you have a first timer come to you who's never had massage therapy done, walk people through what that looks like a first session, if you will.
Well, I know for me, whenever I have a new client, the first thing I'm going to do is I'll have them take a seat and I'm going to sit down with them and we're just going to talk for a second. We're just going to talk and ask them if we'll start with like the basics, superficial things, the things that they expect tech to get. And we'll ask like, what do you want worked on today? What's going on with you? And sometimes you'll have clients who will love to talk about it and go on and on and on. And then you have other clients who are very shy, kind of like, don't have a whole lot to say. And we just kind of go with them wherever they want to go and give them space to be who they are in the room. And then I'm very specific about, okay, this is exactly what you're going to do. You're going to get under the sheet. We'll pull the sheet back. I'm going to have you start face down and undress to your level of comfort first time, especially. So they don't feel like, they have to get completely naked on the table. It's not necessary, especially if it makes somebody uncomfortable. Everything is catered around making sure they have agency the entire time on every single thing that happens, and it happens inside of the room.
Yeah.
And I think in order to do that kind of stuff, something that was really important for both Maddy and myself with opening a practice was just allowing enough time for that to happen. Because a lot of times when you work for, big massage chains or, just bigger massage businesses, the time in between massages is maybe 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. And so you have to kind of that's for intake and getting them off the table and switching everything over for your next client. You're just kind of running from client to client. And so we allow at least a half an hour between each client to really have the time to do that. Mm-hmm. And not be rushing from client to client. Because I never want anyone to have the thought that I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, let's get you out of here. This is your time. You pay for the, hour massage, hour and a half massage, but that we build in so much extra time on either side of that to really have time to talk to people. And when you were explaining kind of a new client and how we talk to them and stuff, what we do, I was thinking of an analogy of being in a yoga class and the teacher's setting up a pose and they're telling you about it before they have you do it. And they're telling you modifications. If this is too tight, if this is, you can always go to your knees or whatever. That's kind of how I set up the treatment, where it's here's how this typically goes, but I want to know, how's that sitting with you? What do you think about that? Does that sound like that's going to work? And give them time to ask me questions about it. It's do I have to do this? Does it have to be like that? If people need more lights on or less light or, particular oils, really soothing to them, I want to know that stuff up front.
Everything from beginning to end is, we just want the client to feel heard the entire time. And for us, making sure that we have enough time with each client where they don't feel the energy of us looking at the clock the whole time, feeling like we have to, get them off the table, flip the table, put somebody else on it. We want them to know that all of our time and attention is devoted to them and be able to feel that through the massage.
Yeah, it sounds just so personal. Whereas when you go to typically any other massage therapist, it's very impersonal. Right. It's here's the clipboard of questions. Cool. Now you give it back to me. Okay, now lay on the table. I'll come back in a minute. Yeah. Remove clothing. It's very impersonal. And you're right. They're just bouncing client to client anyways. Yeah. So the consideration for the person on the table is very low, in my opinion. There's 98% of us have some kind of trauma or anxiety or depression or something like that. So yeah, I want to be eased into it, because I tell you, I get so much anxiety going into my appointment. When I go to a massage therapist, or my acupuncturist, she was great. We had that conversation, that personal conversation. Sure. But there were times where she would leave the room and just touch my leg. So it's little things like that would spike my anxiety a little bit, because I wasn't expecting it. So being touched unexpectedly is for me, it creates a lot of anxiety. All of that should be considered
Yeah. Well, and particularly with PTSD, you know, people are in such a heightened state that if you drop them down into a really low, you know, what other people would think is just bliss, relaxing.
Yeah.
It's like too much of a dip in their nervous system. They're going from one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
So you gotta leave space for that kind of stuff when people need a little bit more of an energetic kind of body work. They want to talk a lot through the session. That's totally fine. Like, encourage that all the time. I mean, you know, and same token, if someone wants to not speak whatsoever, they're like, I need to just check out. This is my time away from my kids or away from work or whatever it is. Like, they're welcome to do that too. But sometimes with PTSD and anxiety, it's like, if you get people too relaxed, their nervous systems kind of goes, wait, what's going on? Like, I'm not like running from that tiger anymore. You know, I don't know how to do that yet. And so it takes a while to get people to really sink into that level of relaxation.
Yeah, we want to do our best to meet people where they are. And one thing is with trauma, especially, a lot of people, when they are going through healing in any type of way, they think that healing means finding these huge emotional releases and recovering from them. But all emotional releases do is makes you rebound back even harder once you get through that release. So we're not looking to do that. What we're looking for is more of like emotional expansion. We want to meet you where you are and then, you know, help you kind of guide you slowly into finding regulation and whatever that means for you.
All of that sounds way more appealing than what I've been doing, which is going online, finding the closest massage therapist, signing up, and then just go, I'm learning. I'm still learning. Yay. Let's talk about gender affirming bodywork. Tell me a little bit about that. What's the significance of it? And if you can provide some examples of those services.
Sure.
I had top surgery about, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago now. And I never felt like there was really a therapist that I felt comfortable showing my chest to in order to get cupping done to help release the scar tissue all along my scars. So I would do it myself at home. And I learned through that the kind of work that you need to do, how sensitive the scars are, how gentle you need to be in order to release that scar tissue over time. And not just with cupping, but using like certain strokes as well to break things up. It just depends on how sensitive somebody's scar is. And also working with people who are fully transitioned and talking to them about how comfortable they feel being on our table, what the draping looks like for them. You have some people who are not modest at all, and they're very proud of what they have. And you have other people who are incredibly modest. And so those are important conversations that we want to have with clients who have transitioned in any type of way before they get on our table.
For me, it's as simple as using proper pronouns. Like pronouns for, you know, whatever your pronouns are, that's what I want to use. Absolutely. And when I'm wrong, I want to, you know, be called out on that and then correct it. You know, I'm available for all of that. But the other thing I was thinking, what else was I thinking when you were talking?
I wish I could tell you.
Get in my brain. Not making any assumptions about clients. I think that should be a thing that all therapists do, but I'm not going to assume just because you have had top surgery that, you know, like, I guess with a cis man, you know, it's when you ask the question, if you're addressing things in the abdomen, like I ask everyone, regardless of gender or gender expression, if they're comfortable with me undraping their chest. And cis men generally overall are like, oh yeah, I don't care. I would never assume that of a trans man, you know, and just being like, are you comfortable with that? Like there would be a lot more of a conversation.
Yeah.
Because I do want to err on the side of being overtly respectful rather than making any kind of assumptions about people. Another one is like, you body hair. I mean, whatever kind of body hair you want to come in with. Yeah. It doesn't matter about gender expression whatsoever. But we get a lot of, I mean, I can't really speak for you, but I get a lot of like apologies for stuff like that.
All the time.
Like, oh, my legs are hairy. I just have to warn you, I have armpit hair. And it's like, okay, it's on the table.
You just mentioned exactly why I'm not a massage therapist right there.
Yeah.
It's not my forte. But yeah, being aware of all of those things. And this is why I love the queer community. This right here is because we're so aware of those things and being respectful, even if it is just of pronouns. And I say just of, but it's the little things that really make a difference in making somebody, a patient or a client, comfortable in your space, is just using the proper pronouns. Sometimes that's all you need. And I've heard stories. Dara had shared one once on their Facebook page about how the doctor's office, there wasn't a space on the paper for pronouns, but they wrote them in. And sure enough, like somebody called Dara and used the wrong pronouns. And when it's like, it's right there on the paper, and the nurse, I'm not quite sure who she was just kind of like, oh yeah, sorry, I didn't look, and it was like, it wasn't a true apology or anything like that. So that can make anybody uncomfortable. And like you mentioned, the top surgery like scarring, you don't think about those things and how important they are. So much to think about. This is why I love these conversations, right? I learned so much, because especially when it comes to the trans community, like I am not a trans individual, so there's so many other considerations in our everyday lives that we don't think about, that trans people go through on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
effective hormones.
Yes.
I mean, hormones are huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
We want to know that of any of our clients.
Yes.
Like that's a question, any medications, because we just want to understand a little bit more about the biology to make sure that we're not exacerbating any conditions or how we can help further. And hormones are huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I don't know, are you aware of any other places that are as, I want to say, like progressive or as respectful as you are speaking right now, like in terms of your practice?
I mean, there are certainly other establishments in town that have an inclusivity statement on their website.
Okay. Yeah.
Kind of the void that we identified was kind of like, yeah, but like I wanted to have queer owned on our logo, I want to have it out there. We're on, I don't know if you're familiar with the app Everywhere is Queer.
Yes, I'm on there. Yes.
Amazing. Love that. Cause then you know for sure. And it's, it's a vetted situation where it's like you have queer owned, not everybody's just going on there like, oh yeah, we accept everyone. And we were just talking about this earlier today. It's like, we've worked for other places that are, an inclusive establishment, but then maybe not necessarily everyone that they hire as a massage therapist is as open and progressive as we tend to be.
Right.
And so it's like, people are kind of rolling the dice with some of that stuff where it's like, oh, well, I assumed that every therapist felt the same way. And it's like, no, I mean, every therapist would get in trouble if they did anything wrong. But it doesn't mean that everyone's coming to the table with the same set of values. And that's really important for both of us.
Yes.
I mean, we're the only 2 therapists at Sage Wellness. So our hiring's pretty tight.
Yeah. y'all got it down. Y'all don't have anything to worry about. I love it.
Yeah, no.
Yes. I love the Everywhere is Queer app. If you don't have it, you should. It is a map of either queer owned, it can be ally, but those who are more than inclusive. I love the word inclusive, but sometimes people interpret it a different way. Like there's certain therapists that they're quote unquote inclusive, but they don't really know how to like speak to a queer individual, or like they're not aware of the struggles, or
it's kind of like they're not going to discriminate against anyone trying to patronize their establishment. But we wanted it to be a place where it's like, we've done the research and we want to continue to evolve to be a safe space for all individuals.
I mean, that's been like the biggest, I think anywhere I go, that's always a concern is how am I going to be treated, or who's going to be in control of my appointment for anything. We wanted to create a space where people could come in and that worry can be gone completely. And so that's always been a big concern.
And something we joke about is it kind of weeds out people that we don't want to work with. I mean, we've worked with varying populations and definitely people who just kind of came in not really knowing who we are specifically, but we're just the therapist for that appointment. And they want to talk about stuff that does not interest us whatsoever and is actually quite offensive. Right. And when you're working for someone else, there's a lot of that you just have to gut.
You do.
You know, you just have to kind of laugh it off and be like, well, that's a little wild, you know, and really try not to engage with that kind of stuff. But we really wanted to kind of weed that out. I mean, we probably don't get called as often as we could if we were just, you know, another massage place on the street, but we're okay with that.
Yeah, it creates, we were talking earlier, like it not only creates a safe space for our clients, but it creates a safe space for us.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
We know anybody that makes an appointment, they know exactly where we stand and they want to come.
As a small business owner, those are things that we worry about on both sides of the coin. Like, I want to be open and welcome everybody, and I don't want to offend anybody, and I don't want to, you know, but at the same time, it's like on the flip side of that, you want to be like, for example, like all the events that I go to, I always have my Pride banner up. Always, no matter where I'm at. I don't care what county I'm in. And I'm speaking to you, Douglas County. I will always have my rainbow banner up. And that's something that I had to go back and forth on, right? Because I am a small business owner and I want to be Switzerland, or I used to just wanted to, I didn't want to put myself out there like that. But now I'm like, F that. Like, and I can tell you it's a way when you display anything pride or rainbow, it creates a different level of safety for people. And that's the one of the things that I've absolutely noticed. It's a safe, the pride flag means safety.
Yeah, it does.
Or any, like, just queer owned businesses. Like, it just, for me, it means safe.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
Yeah. It's just,
whenever I'd like drive down a road, I grew up in Arkansas. And so when I moved here, it was so wonderful. And it was like, I would drive down a road and I would see, like, you know, pride flags and rainbow flags, where my nervous immediately started to calm down. Like, immediately, you know, it was just, I mean, it was so brand new, and it was wonderful to see.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why I love driving in Denver sometimes. I can't say I love driving in Denver all the time, but there's usually pride flags everywhere. And I'm like, yeah, these are my people. Yay.
Well, I lived in Portland, Oregon for 6 years, and it's like, you can't be queer enough there. I mean, like, everyone's fighting, like, no, I'm more queer. You know, such a progressive place, at least Portland in particular. And then in moving back here, because I'd been gone for many years, but I moved back here a couple of years ago, and it was like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot what it was like to not be in as a progressive place. Although Colorado Springs has really come a long way.
It really has. Yeah. Like, it's I've heard more conservative. Yeah. Seem that way to me.
Yeah. I lived in Colorado Springs for about 10 years before I moved up to Castle Rock, Douglas County. And it's like, everybody would talk about how conservative Colorado Springs was, but I never had an issue. I mean, you'd get the random neighbor on the community page or something like that or whatever. But otherwise, like, going out in public and whatever, grocery shopping in a store and stuff, I'd never felt like threatened in any way or uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, and people still talk about Colorado Springs being conservative, and I can see how certain aspects of it, yeah, sure. But otherwise, I never had any issues. And I'm not saying people don't or have not by any means, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just taken a long time for, like, the focus on the family veil to, you know, like, it was between New Life and Focus on the Family. It was such a polarizing place for a long time. And yeah, I'm pretty proud to live here. I think that people do a really good job, even if politically we don't all agree. I haven't really experienced any, like, hate.
Yeah.
And that's a really nice, safe thing to have. It's just kind of, you know, like,
yeah,
we're chill. We'll stay over here. You go over there. Like, it's fine. There's just not a lot of chaos around it.
I was going to say, have you ever experienced with Sage Wellness, like, any kind of hate or anything?
Not far.
No.
Yeah. Been really lucky.
Yeah, we've been lucky.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's been a couple of previous clients that I saw at a different clinic that I've handed them my business card. I've handed them a pamphlet or something, like, yeah, come see me over there. And they're all gung ho. And then I never hear from them.
Right.
And so I get the sense that like it's weeded out a couple of people that maybe I don't want to have on my table anyway.
And that's okay.
Yeah, I love that. I hope it offends some people, just not everyone, you know?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Like I don't need it. Yeah. I used to be a personal trainer before I did this, and it was definitely that fine line where I just don't talk to me about politics. Like I never talked about politics, but I also didn't want my clients to ever bring anything up because I just didn't want my brain to like, I mean, I can be judgy. We can all be a little judgy sometimes. So, but like, I never wanted to even tiptoe into that realm. And I, of course, had a couple clients do it, and I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, keep pushing, like
it is hard. I mean, even as a personal trainer, but as a massage therapist, you have a power differential, and like the person's on your table, they're being vulnerable in that moment, and you're there to be the practitioner. You don't want to disrespect them in any way, but yeah, a lot of times it's like, hey, I'm not the person for this conversation. I don't think, I think that's better served for someone else. Maybe. I don't know. We don't agree. I just want to tell you that we don't agree.
Yeah.
I can still take care of you. I'm still good at my job, but
a lot of facial expressions while they're face down on the table, just processing like, what am I going to say?
Oh my gosh. I feel like people definitely don't read the room properly sometimes.
No, not always.
Ever.
I mean, we've had a great experience so far.
Yeah, good.
Been clients that weren't familiar to us and found us through, Everywhere Is Queer or, just Instagram or whatever the case may be. Like, we've been really lucky so far.
We've been lucky. And I mean, just, finding a perfect space. We've had so much support from so many people. We've had so much networking and connections that have happened so quickly.
Yeah.
It's just been a spot of joy, I guess. I mean, we didn't expect all the connections and all the things that were going to happen.
Well, to be honest, like opening up a new business, I've never owned a massage place before. Like it was really intimidating and I was expecting it to just be a grind, like an uphill battle. And I feel really supported by the community. And more often than not, like the more that we kind of network around, there's a lot of organizations in town, queer organizations in particular, that are reaching out like, hey, do you want to be at our 1-year anniversary? Like, do you want to be a vendor here? And like offering us those spots that are like, come,
Are you going to be at Prism next week?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so am I. Yeah. Prism Collective is doing their 1-year anniversary if you're in Colorado Springs, Friday, June 6th. So from, I think, like 3:30 to 8 or something like that, somewhere in the ballpark in the evening.
We'll be doing chair massage, so.
Heck yeah. Yeah. So come see all of us. Come see all of us. June 6th. Yeah. When you said that, I was like, they're definitely going to it. That's awesome.
It's going to be a great way to start off Pride Month. We're really excited for Pride Month.
Yes. Fantastic. Yes, Pride Month. And I'm so happy to hear it warms my heart when a queer-owned business hasn't had pushback from the general public or just are having a good experience, because you just never know. And again, I definitely go out of my way now to help support queer-owned businesses. Like, I mean, there's, I've had pushback, like even from a therapist before. I've reached out to a therapist and I was pretty much like, I'm a lesbian. Is that going to be an issue? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, okay. Cool. I appreciate that. When in hindsight, if a therapist isn't comfortable with having queer clients, I'd rather them say something first than being in a really awkward situation.
Yeah.
Just the same as I had like a podcast management company basically say, well, I'm faith-based. Is that a problem? And I'm like, it's not a problem for me. Is it a problem for you? And it ended up being a problem for her.
Yeah.
I appreciate the honesty.
Sure.
It's unfortunate, but I still appreciate the honesty sometimes. But it is nice to hear when queer-owned businesses haven't been like discriminated against or any kind of hate. And I hope that continues to stay true always for everybody, of course. But
sure.
What should someone look for when trying to find a trauma-informed LGBTQ plus affirming body worker?
Well, all of that in their bio, preferably.
That's,
yeah. I mean, you can kind of, it is really nice to see all of that in their bio. If you are a non-binary person, maybe you're looking for a non-binary massage therapist. Someone's going to be able to validate your experience and understand exactly where you're at and really truly respect where you're at. Training. Yeah. Like if someone can validate the kind of training that they've had in trauma-informed massage, a history of clinical trauma work, just credential, hopefully.
I feel like it's okay. Like, I know I'm so awkward. When I call and set up appointments and stuff, I just set up the appointment. I feel like we as individuals for our own mental health and safety, we should be able to call somewhere and ask those questions. And I encourage everybody to do that. Like, don't be afraid to do your research, especially when it comes to something like massage therapy, where somebody is physically, like if you need that extra comfort of knowing that they are trauma informed or wherever it is, please call and ask.
Yeah.
Like,
and get a vibe. I mean, on their website, their social media, what do they talk about? What do they repost? What do they care about? Because there's so many websites. I mean, when you're looking for a therapist, I feel like that's the number one. When you're looking for a mental health therapist, it takes a while to find the right fit. And going on websites, if it feels too sterile and they don't really talk about any of that stuff, call and ask questions and stuff. But the right kind of therapist will probably be pretty boisterous about those things. They're going to come out and be like, this is a safe, affirming space.
Yes.
It's a vibe too.
Right.
You'll know.
It won't be something that's just kind of whispered to the side. They'll, make sure that it's out on a banner almost.
Well, and a rising tide lifts all boats. And I hope more massage places start putting that stuff into their missions, start requiring that. I mean, it's hard when it's such a personal value based thing. You can't really discriminate against people on a job application if they're not, it's are you down with all of this stuff? But just, if you come out the gate and just say this is the kind of space that we want to create, these values are really important to us. If that doesn't work with you or that doesn't jive with your own values, we totally understand. But these are things that, it's fireable offense, or, whatever the case is, take a strong stance in protecting people because everybody deserves to feel safe.
Yes.
Everybody deserves caring touch. Everyone deserves healing, and there are lots of horror stories of people seeking body work and having a really bad experience. Yes. And it does give massage a bad rap in certain circles, and it's more safe spaces, more outward affirming care.
Yeah. I wish people did that more, put a rainbow out, and because I get so excited. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm yeah, heck yeah. I'm vocal whenever I see a flag. I'm fuck yeah. Yeah. Especially businesses. I'm hell yeah. Let's go. We're going in there. We're going to support that business. I'm going to also add cyber stalking to everybody's to-do list. Anything that pops up. If somebody reaches out to me about my business or I am looking that person up on Facebook. I am Googling their phone number. I am a cyber stalker. I just want everybody to know that I am thoroughly looking up individuals before I do business with them. And for the most part, you can find out what you need to know, on social medias and stuff. So I highly encourage cyber stalking.
Yeah, LinkedIn is a good place. You can see what people are reposting and liking and stuff.
Yes.
You're
yes.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, one last question for both of you. We'll start with Maddy on this one.
Okay.
If there is one little nugget of advice that you could share with the LGBTQ plus community, what would it be?
Ooh. Oh my goodness.
This is cheating because Megan gets to think about hers for a minute.
So just make sure to take time for yourself. I think that's the biggest thing that I could really say. And what I mean by that is make sure you find self-care in ways that are meaningful to you. This is a very visceral time. And what self-care means to one person does not mean that it means something to somebody else. Do not be ashamed of what self-care means to you, and I think that would probably be the biggest thing I could say, because in this moment, that's something I'm working on myself. So, you know, oh my gosh, yeah, anything that helps you regulate your nervous system, please do it. It would be the most important thing I would say.
And keep trying. Like, if you can't find that one thing, there's so many different practices out there. Or it can be as simple as listening to your favorite song. It doesn't have to be a big, huge thing. So keep trying. Find those self-care practices, especially during this tumultuous period that we're living in right now. That was very subtle of me. How about you, Megan? What advice would you like to share with the LGBTQ plus community?
Just the importance of community. Find your family.
Find your family.
Yeah, it's so huge, and I don't know, so many of us are so divided, even within our own families. I know that I'm divided in my own family over political stuff, unfortunately. But yeah, find your family, find your community, stay here and find your community. There's so much joy, not just queer joy, but just joy to be found in like making connections with people. Sign up for the weird event, do the sound bath, you know, go to the weird concert in the park, like whatever it is, to just find other people that vibrate the same as you. Find them. They're out there and you're not alone. Find your family.
Yeah, I love that
message.
Family and community right now. It's a big one. It's a big one. And again, just like self-care, it's like searching for self-care practices. You're searching for family, community that you're comfortable around. And, you know, a lot of these places and people, they might be wearing a rainbow flag. Put themselves out there. There you go. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here and sharing about Sage Wellness in Colorado Springs. Please go see Maddy and Megan. If you have been questioning, either you've never been and you just don't know what the experience is, or you've been scared of the experience, this sounds like the perfect opportunity to hit up Maddy and Megan and check out their practice. Can you please let everybody know where or how they can reach you, follow you on social media?
Yeah, absolutely. We're at www.sagewellnesscos.com. On Instagram at sagewellness.cos. Yeah, call, text, email, all of that is available. Please reach out to us if you have any questions. We'll be at the Prism 1-year anniversary.
June 6th.
Situation, June 6th. We'll be in chair massage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll be walking around at Pride. If you see us out,
we'll be out.
Probably wearing Sage Wellness t-shirts. Come say hey, ask us a weird question. Give us a hug. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just find us.
We're open to all of it.
Yeah.
We're open to all of it.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Please leave comments for Megan, Maddy, or myself about this episode. You can follow Queer in Here on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Queer in Here Podcast. And just so you know, this is getting to be a little bit of a busy time for myself as a small business owner with vendor events and everything coming up, but I am still recording and will still be releasing episodes. So thank you for your patience. And as always, thank you for all the support for this podcast. You are loved. You are enough. Please lean on each other and ask for help when needed. See you next time.